This is the 1 hour, right? And so what I'm noticing is from the first time that we had the idea to be on the lookout for buys above this area, which is this area right here, we were looking at price action. It was right here. So again, we understood, okay, that's an area of significance where we've seen, like this is a gap towards the upside. Where does that gap come from? This area. You can see the candle close right here, gapped all the way up here. You can see price action when it traded above this area, pushed all the way up until these highs at least. And so the idea was if we can stay above that area, it was like the 550, 550s on US30. The idea is to be on the lookout for further buys, right? Those ideas have continued to play out as price action goes and retests that zone and pushes towards the upside. But notice how this right here was a very strong push when price action did this. Like you have your break above, your retest, very strong push, right? That's clear. But notice how when you went and retested that area once again, which is right here, the push only got to this right here. And as we're approaching this zone once again, and we're still rejecting, but look how much weaker that push has gotten as well. So that would mean that although the bias is still valid to stay bullish on US30 above the 55.20s, 55.50s on US30, the bullish bias is still valid. But because they continue to get weaker, say for example, you get in buys and price rejects and you get into these previous highs and you see that you're struggling to break above that, don't get married to those buys because again, those buyers have gotten weaker and weaker. So you don't want to force buys and then price action ends up breaking those lows and then pushes lower, which is what I would expect if you end up getting below the lows on US30, just because of the fact that those buyers continue to get weaker. And it's almost as if those sellers are squeezing those buyers little by little. So if you break those lows, be on the lookout for deeper pullbacks here and more sells on US30, but only below the lows, below this area, where you've seen in the past as well, pushes lower, right? Good that. I'm thinking with this current momentum, guys, on US30, watch out for a push of those lows because of just how, again, if I'm wrong, I'll be wrong if we reject and we stay above this area. But based off this current momentum and how we're seeing price action, if we break these lows, I'm thinking we're going to see a decent push towards downside on US30. And then if you push those lows and can reclaim that area again and stay above this zone, I'm thinking you could see that retest and then a deeper pullback on US30. Only buys are valid. Sorry, guys. This is what I'm talking about. Watch out for deeper pullbacks and deeper sells. Let's watch out for market open right now. Shush. That's a goddamn US30 is wild. Phew, it was gone. But right, we broke those lows. At this point, oh my God. Watching this live is crazy. At this point, just pay attention to those lows. If you go there and exhaust, you're most likely going to get a recovery. And with the volatility that we're seeing right now in this volume, we could easily see maybe some sort of recovery. But then the pushes below, the only thing is right now, this is like we're 45 seconds into market open and we just wiped out. We're just at this point again, watch that US30. Am I on the, yeah. Watch those lows on US30 if you exhaust. Because you could say right here, look at how strong this push came. It's still exhausted here at this area. It still stopped. Like, yeah, it tried to push, but it exhausted and then it recovered. So unless we get a clean push below and start to see 5-minute candles, 15-minute candles closing below, then that's where we can really use that as your continued sell zone. It's right now we're gone. Whatever, but so that's US30. It really just gave us this strong push that was very volatile during market open. Right now, what we're seeing is a bit of exhaustion that took place at these highs. If you can continue to retest and reject these highs at the 5525s, then that would be that sell zone below that area. Remember that. That was our sell zone below there. That's why we were preparing for possible breakouts, because of the fact that price action, remember what I explained earlier, was each new high that got created after you got this bounce, you had a very strong one, then a weaker one, then a much weaker one. And so if we broke those lows, the idea was that we're most likely going to retest or correct some of this moves right here. And in like 2 minutes at market open, price action pushed. But the ideas remain the same, in the sense that above here, above the 5540s, it's so confusing to say that, above the 5540s, buys are valid because of what has happened in the past. You would now want to see candle closures above that area before you look to take buys. That's why I was saying, as price action was nearing this zone, I told you guys, be careful if you see candle closures above that area. But if you do end up getting exhaustion and you can continue to reject, then you can be on the lookout for sells. Right now, we're seeing further sells take place as you saw price action get back below the zone and break below, for example, like this minor structure point here. And you're seeing that continuation. That's what we want to see with gold. On gold, kind of similar to US30, it's kind of like we're getting above the zone, but we exhaust, we break below structure points, and then you get the sell.